Nova Scotia is one of the most exciting provinces to visit on Canada's east coast. Having explored from north to south and everywhere in between, here are the top choices for our best adventures to be had. Check out our other Nova Scotia videos in the playlist below. We have many more ideas to share. But for now, here are our top picks for things to do in Nova Scotia.
We had a great time tidal bore rafting here with River Run. You gotta do it when you come to Nova Scotia. It's one of the best adventures and the most unique thing you will do here, period, hands down.
We're going to be riding the world's highest tides on Zodiacs as the waters come rushing in from the Bay of Fundy.
Woo! First set done. Awesome. Giggles.
The Bay of Fundy tides rise 35 to 55 feet twice daily, and the Shubenacadie River sees the brunt of it as the water comes rushing in.
Dave's getting a little wet.
Just a little.
A little spray. We're going into second serving. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah. This is awesome! So much fun! You gotta do this when you come to Nova Scotia. Well, we're here with Nova Shore Adventures on a 2-day kayaking trip. It's been really great here on the Bay of Fundy because we've got to see the landscape at both low tide and high tide. We've landed here at Seal Cove and we've seen the weather change from beautiful sunny days to foggy days to beautiful mornings like this. It's a really great way to take in the beauty of the Bay of Fundy.
Wow, that was a really cool experience to kayak on the Bay of Fundy. We went out to the Three Sisters and the sun magically came out and lit them up for us. And then as we were paddling back, the fog came in. It's really ominous and very cool to just see it rolling in. It almost makes you think that a ghost ship is just around the corner. We are about to hike the Skyline Trail.
It's one of the Cabot Trail's most epic hikes because of the view you see at the end, and we're going to be there for sunset.
We're on the Skyline Walk at the Cabot Trail in Cape Breton, Nova Scotia. Wow, the sun's just starting to hit the coast. It's beautiful.
So what an amazing sunset here up at the Skyline Walk. It was definitely worth it. The sky really went out and it's beautiful to share it with someone you love.
The Cabot Trail in Nova Scotia is one of the best drives in the world.
But you got to make sure you get out and do some hiking as well, because you come across views just like this. We're hiking the Middlehead Trail here, which is the first one that you come to when you're driving counterclockwise, and let me tell you, it's worth it.
The Cabot Trail is one of the world's ultimate scenic highways. Located on Nova Scotia's Cape Breton Island, it takes 2 to 5 days to drive, but be sure to give yourself as much time as you can. There are several of epic hikes to explore, kayaking trips, beaches, and fantastic scenery.
Another great stop here on the Cabot Trail. Look at that scene behind me.
Exploring Peggy's Cove.
Peggy's Cove is such a pretty fishing village, and it was started by just 6 families who were granted 800 acres by the government. Today it is still a working fishing village, and this is how people have made their livings and supported their families for the past 200 years. The time to come to Peggy's Cove is definitely at sunrise. There's nobody here!
So we're getting ready to head out on our Peggy's Cove boat tour here. A great way to see that lighthouse from a different perspective. Let's go.
Let's go on a lobster tour.
Lobster fishing is one of the main industries in Nova Scotia, and if you really want to get a feel for the culture and lifestyle, you must go out on a lobster tour.
So we're on the lobster tour here with Joe, Lobster Safari, and this guy's about 8 years old.
You place the gauge right in behind his eye socket and measure down his back. If it goes over here, the end of his thorax, you have to throw it back in.
Conservation is taken seriously in Nova Scotia, and fishermen are careful to only catch large lobsters that have had a chance to reproduce. If the lobster's too small, there's an escape mechanism in the cage, and they can just swim right on out.
I'm trapped in a lobster trap. Let me out of here. Let me out of here. When you do come here, you have to do this. You have to have a lobster boil or a lobster bake because, hey, you know what? It's the thing to do here.
And what you do is you then grab the tail, either one side or the other. Get your fingers here, so put your fingers in that this little area right there.
Right, yeah.
And then you just basically
Peel it open.
Peel it open. Peel and push at the same time. The tail should just pop right there. Okay?
Okay.
So we got some instruction on how to eat a lobster, so I'm gonna see how good I am. First I gotta take off the limbs, and then I think I gotta get into the tail, at least get that off, and we'll see how far we get. So here we go. And there you go. That's how you get into a maritime lobster.
We're at the very picturesque town of Lunenburg here in Nova Scotia. Here's a little insider tip for you. Come on up to the golf course across the bay for a gorgeous picture at sunset.
Walk along the Lunenburg boardwalk so you can take in the Fisheries Museum. So this is the Fisherman's Memorial here in Lunenburg, and it's dedicated to the over 700 men who gave their lives while fishing out here in the Atlantic Ocean.
When in Lunenburg, it's worth getting up early for sunrise and coming out to the fishing community of Blue Rocks.
Where to next? A highlight of the South Shore Drive is exploring the lighthouse route to see historic lighthouses like the 4 Point Lighthouse in Liverpool.
We've stopped at the 4 Point Lighthouse just in Liverpool here on our Nova Scotia road trip, and it is free to visit, and it's the 3rd oldest lighthouse in Nova Scotia.
I'm gonna sound the foghorn. Let's see. I tooted.
See you later, lighthouse.
We're at the Glenora Distillery on the Cabot Trail, and we're about to go on a distillery tour to taste some whiskey. Woohoo! Let's go.
Guided tours happen daily from May to October and cost just $7, and that includes whiskey samples at the end of the tour.
The water for the whiskey actually comes from this magical brook that makes it taste so good.
Well, that was a very cool tour of Canada's only single malt distillery. It was very informative, and I found out they've been open since 1990, and they opened their first 25-year-old whiskey this year. easiest fishing you'll ever do. All you gotta do is let the line out and the fish, they just bite within minutes. It's a lot of fun actually if you do this. You gotta do the mackerel fishing here. He lives another day. Now that was a lot of fun. We are at the Alexander Graham Bell National Historic Site, and this is a fascinating tour of the famous inventor's life. We all know that Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone, but he had his hand in so many more things. He was part of the aeronautics team that actually led the first flight in the British Commonwealth. And it was the first flight to actually go for a kilometer. So he made history once again.
Exploring the beautiful scenery around the town of Baddeck, it's easy to understand why Alexander Graham Bell chose to make this his summer home.
One of the things I love about paddling is just the peacefulness of it. Just, you know, you can just hear the paddle strokes, that's about it, the dipping in the water.
We mentioned kayaking the Bay of Fundy at the beginning of this video, but there are many places in Nova Scotia to paddle, and each one is unique, different, and spectacular. If you find yourself near a kayaking center, be sure to get on a tour and get out on the water. It's the best way to explore the scenic coast. With kayaking tours on both the Atlantic and the Bay of Fundy, you'll witness amazing scenery and have a great adventure. There are so many things to do in Nova Scotia, we barely scratched the surface. But be sure to check out our Nova Scotia South Shore road trip for more ideas, and make sure to subscribe to our videos for weekly entertainment in your inbox. We have an entire Canada playlist.